Welcome to 101. I'm Greg Bassett, your host from the Salisbury Independent. It's a big day here at PAC 14. They're all big, but it's an especially big day here today because we are interviewing my boss. What good can come from this? I have no idea. Big welcome to Darel La Prade. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Greg. It's always a pleasure to be here. This is a place, the second time I've been here, and I laugh more here than practically any place else.
Even more when you read the mistakes in the Salisbury Independent?
I try not to see those mistakes.
You just wince at those.
I do.
Yeah. We're here because we want to talk about ourselves a little bit this week because we celebrated an anniversary at Salisbury Independent, and I don't get to pat myself on the back, so I'm going to ask Darel to pat me on the back.
We are starting our 8th year at the Salisbury Independent. Best decision that I ever made, best hire I've ever made is bringing Greg in as the founding editor and general manager for the Salisbury Independent. And we've had quite a journey, but it's been a good 7 years.
Yeah.
And we've made a lot of progress, and we have a lot of progress ahead of us. So it's I'm glad that you and I were able to strike up a partnership and start this little enterprise.
And we have to thank our friends here at PAC 14 who have helped us promote our newspaper. And also what PAC 14 does and what we do is so much aligned in terms of serving the community and the things that we try to find out about people and stories that we like to tell. It's sort of a matched mission, as they say.
Well, I have thought about that, and I like the idea. When you came to me with the question, would it be okay if I became the host of One-on-One? There was no other answer but yes, because the missions are so closely aligned.
Really, you've given me the opportunity to really do what I do best, and that's to cover a community and do the community news. And we didn't know what was going to happen when we started this thing, whether people would like it or not. I was so used to people hating the paper as editor of the Daily because there was so much frustration with what we did at the Daily. But people seem to really like what we're doing with this thing.
They do, and I really hate to harp on this, but I really think it has to do with our values. And we have this thing. I think about it in this way, that these are that there's certain lyrics that have to do with our company. My son was telling me the other day that he was talking to my daughter, and she mentioned a song, and she gave 2 words of the lyric, and he knew the whole song. So got me to thinking that there are certain lyrics that go along with our company and what we do. One of them is that we are a for-profit newspaper owned by a nonprofit trust. Another is that we support the community and try to build a community. Another is that we admit our mistakes in prominent ways. Perhaps the biggest one is that we pursue this concept of purposeful neutrality. We're nonpartisan. We try to report straight down the line. I think when you add all these things up, it was a sure bet that people in Salisbury were going to like what we did. And I think that because we've sort of adhered to those values and pushed those values forward, that accounts for the success of the paper.
You're in a business. I mean, we've all seen the business models for the print publications sort of devolve into almost meaninglessness. It's been a very frustrating process as we've supposedly converted to digital. We still think there's a market for the print readers. People will get our paper, they get it in the mail, they get it at the newsstand, they put it on the island in their kitchen, they put it by the potty, they have it with them, and they look at it all week. That still seems to work, we think, and our advertisers still come to us for that.
Well, they do, and I think they come to us because their advertising in our paper works. It is true that our industry is going through a transition. Now, I'm almost 70 years old, so I've been hearing this idea of transition for 35 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, right? 25 years we've been going through a transition.
Yeah, it's just, always going through a transition. But we did some analysis. My son, who works for us now, did this analysis the other day. It was really enlightening. And he looked back at 2016 to see how much money we were getting from preprints in 2016. And then preprints are the
The inserts.
the inserts, the grocery circulars, the
Yeah.
things from Boscov's, et cetera. And then he compared that to what we're getting now. And it has been $1 million loss in revenue in those 5 years, $1 million. And it appears that the bleeding in that category is not over yet. What we have discovered, though, is that in our company, we are making a transition because our digital revenue, the revenue from digital sales, digital advertising on our website and elsewhere, and our events have begun to make that up. Now, we estimate that if at the same rate, we're going to start our new fiscal year, which is July 1st, and if we look at the same rate of loss from preprints, we estimate that we're going to start $75,000 in the hole. And we know that we're going to make at least $25,000 in digital advertising and $50,000 in events. So the transition in our company is actually taking place.
Right.
And we're going to be able to plug that hole. And we're hopeful that those are conservative estimates for digital sales and for events. So it's been a tough go, but I think we're on solid ground. We've made it through the pandemic. I like to brag about the fact that, and I think it is a brag, that the paid circulation of the Delaware State News, which is a 7-day daily in Dover, is up 3%
Right.
year over year, and that's without a rate increase.
And in my Gannett days at the Daily Times, we would budget to be down between 7 and 11% in circulation because it wasn't our fault. That's just where it was headed across the country.
Correct.
Yeah. So to be up is amazing.
Well, I do think it's amazing, and again, I think it points back to the values that we have as a company and as a media company. And I also have to say, it's our positioning statement, which are those values. It is our people, which include you and others like you, and it is our products. So content is king, and the product is queen. So I think we've done a really good job with the look of the paper, making it easy to read. People find it, they can find things easily. They find what they're looking for without a lot of trouble. And great photography.
I've been very lucky with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah. But the response from the readers is so positive, overwhelmingly positive. The advertisers love it, and I end up being fascinated by this content. So one thing that I love that we do, and we're going to do it again in the fall, this Thrive thing we do with the Max Center.
I just love the idea. We do this show, and it's targeted at senior citizens and active senior citizens.
And they keep telling me now that I'm fully qualified for that.
Yeah, I've been fully qualified for a while, and we do it at MAC. MAC is, as everybody here knows, obviously, represents the Area Agency on Aging.
Yeah.
They have 4 counties, so we can appeal to all 4 counties, and that's really exciting. It's just downright exciting that the pandemic is receding enough that we can have this in-person event.
Right.
We're not able to have it last year. I think our estimate was, Greg, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but there were 400 or so people that came through MAC the last time we did this. And I want to say last year, but I know it was like 2 years ago.
Right.
But it was, there were like 400 people that came through, and these were folks that were interested in what the vendors had to sell and what they had to offer. And we've heard really, really good things about it, and we're delighted.
And they were readers of the paper. They wanted to tell me what they liked and didn't like about the paper, from the crossword puzzle right through the weather map. I mean, they all wanted to talk about the content of the paper.
Well, I think that's our audience for print, don't you?
Yeah.
Is that that's that older
At 50
demographic.
plus.
Yeah. So, which brings us to another point, is that I don't think as a company that we're going to stand still with our audience, because if we did, eventually our audience would disappear.
Right.
Because we're all growing older. So one of the things that we've done as a company, in mid-February, we launched a fabulous new website that is called baytobaynews.com, and it encompasses our entire coverage area. It's a multi-community regional website. There is a homepage for Wacomico County and a homepage for Dorchester County, homepage for Somerset County, and then there are homepages for the 3 counties in Delaware. And one of the things we learned during the pandemic is that we were just stronger together than we were as standalone operations. So we brought the newsrooms together, and we prepared collaborative news packages. We did a really great piece on the status of the legalization of marijuana and the use of medical marijuana on the peninsula. We're working on other really fabulous collaborative pieces that we will publish on the website and then publish in the newspapers as well. But we learned we were stronger together, so it got us to thinking about, well, should we do this with our websites rather than having, 4 or 5 standalone websites with, somewhat de minimis traffic? What happens if we aggregate those websites under
Right.
a single flag? A lot of people thought we were nuts because we gave up well-established names like the SalisburyIndependent.net and DelawareStateNews.net. I'm very happy to report that the traffic figures in May are as high as they were before we launched in February. It looks as if you take all the traffic that we had on our standalone websites for sessions, visitors, page views, etc., and you add all those categories up and you compare them to where we are now with baytobaynews.com,
Right.
we're right there.
Right.
So it tells me that people have a thirst for the kind of information that we publish, both in print and online. And I just think I just think it's going to be the way of the future.
Now we have it all in one place, Bay to Bay, Chesapeake Bay to Delaware Bay. And it's another way to describe the Delaware Peninsula, and that's really what our home is. We know that people care about things within a 60-mile circle of where they live. They care more about stuff within their 10-mile circle, but they're interested in things up to 60 and 70 miles.
Right.
And we're able to do that with that footprint of that website now.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think that because I was telling you earlier today that as we look at the traffic on the site right now, the homepage is still getting the most traffic, and I assume that that's referral from social media and other sources, Newsbank and so on. But then the top pages, the top traffic pages on the site right now are Kent County, Delaware, and Wacomico County, Maryland, and that to me is like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It really tells me that we're doing something right. We have not had one complaint.
Right.
Not one complaint. It's a much better design.
Yeah.
And it's the navigation on the site is much easier. And so, what we're hopeful is that the intention is that that website is going to green our audience, and that's exactly what we need. And as our audience grows younger, my assumption is that those folks will develop a certain loyalty to print. Now, it may not be the loyalty to the newspaper that we're used to, you and I are used to.
Right.
But it is going to be the loyalty to those niche products that you mentioned, because the way we are approaching our marketing is that we have digital, we have what we call niche and core, and then the third part of that would be our events. So during the last year, we started a digital agency, a standalone agency that's part of our company. It's called Galaxy 110, and we've got some of the greatest digital marketing tools available. And then our niche and core products would be, obviously would be our newspapers, Salisbury Independent, the Crisfield Somerset County Times, the Dorchester Banner, the Delaware State News, our 4 monthlies. But our niche products are the special sections that you used to think, oh my God, it's just extra work.
Exactly.
But as you point out, people love those things, And we've got one coming up in September. We're going to be doing our annual issue of Salisbury Rising, which is kind of our economic development piece for Salisbury.
Which I really enjoy doing. I love writing those stories. I love going back and looking at the things that have been accomplished in the last year and looking, projecting what's coming for readers and kind of taking the temperature of the business community. I love doing that every year.
Another thing we're doing this year that is new, and I just feel like this is right in our wheelhouse, is we have made an agreement with the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce, and we are taking responsibility for publishing their annual directory.
That's a big burden. That's a be careful what you wish for thing with me. I've always wanted to have a closer partnership with them because what they want, what they're trying to achieve and what we're trying to achieve is so closely aligned again, but you want to make sure you do that thing right.
Well, Greg, I've just taken a mental note that you are going to be the proofreader.
But it's the kind of thing we should be doing, so it makes sense.
It's something that contributes back to the community.
Yeah.
It's a vital resource to the community. I was talking to our mutual friend. You were with me. We were talking to our mutual friend Mike Dunn about different publications, and he said there were two key publications, two key directories, if I remember correctly, for Salisbury. One was the Rotary book, the annual Rotary directory,
right,
and then the other was the Chamber directory, and that those were the two key directories. So if as a company and as the Salisbury Independent, we can partner with the Chamber and do a really good job on this, and I think we're going to do a really great job.
Yeah. We've got another one going on right now, another one that I've sort of dreaded. In my past, a lot of newspapers and magazines do these reader poll contests. Ours is called Stars of the Eastern Shore. That's underway right now, and I have to say, I'm fond of it.
Yeah, it is a remarkably successful, and because it's well accepted by our readers. I want to encourage everyone who watches this to go to starsoftheeasternshore.com and to register. And then we are in the nominating phase. There are about 80 categories, and you can nominate a business and or community member, a volunteer, or there are other really fun things. One of my favorite categories is your favorite place to take a quiet stroll.
Right.
So
I voted Salisbury City Park.
I voted for the zoo.
Or I nominated Salisbury City Park.
Yeah, and I nominated the zoo.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I get it, and it's just a fun contest. So it's starsoftheeasternshore.com. It's easy to get to. You can do it on your phone. You go there, you register, which just leave an email address. If you make 25 nominations, your name will automatically be entered into a contest to win $250. We'll go through the nominating process. Once we get all the nominees, then there will be a voting process. And then at the end of the voting process, we're going to have, we hope, that if the pandemic continues to recede, we hope that this year we're going to have a big event. And we'll be able to invite all the winners and all their fans to come to a big event, and we'll make a big deal out of giving out the awards. And I think it's just going to be a really great feel-good opportunity.
Yeah. And we are a business, but we were able to mix it with community. So it's a business that's doing something really positive that brings some community spirit in.
Oh yeah, and yes. So once more, everybody watching, go to starsoftheeasternshore.com, make your nomination, and then once the nominations are announced, go back and vote.
So it's not just supporting a business, you're supporting your friends, you really are.
So what I'm wondering is, what do you see in the future?
We need to really learn to master this digital thing. I can't pretend that print is going to be the way it is forever.
Yeah.
Eventually, someday, everything will be on your phone. So we have to get to that. And that requires changing deadlines. So you're not just printing once a week and writing something that you'll put together on a Monday or Tuesday, that you're doing it every day, that you're giving it to the
Right.
readers every day. One line that you've given me is that we're a watchdog with manners. We're not trying to do gotcha. We did win a First Amendment award this year for our coverage in the court system, where we had a situation with some police officers and some things that maybe weren't done correctly in court.
Just the kind of thing we should have done.
Exactly, and we didn't make it about us or do any gotcha. We just went and got all the documents. We put the story together in terms of what the story was from the documents. We talked to the people who were in a position to know about it. We put it in the paper, let the readers look at it all and decide. And that lets them make the decision. So it's not what we are interpreting so much. We're giving them the information to make a decision. So I think that works really well, and you support me in that. So if you could just keep supporting me in that stuff, that's great. But still, all the little neighborhood news that we do, I'm still focused on putting kids and the schools in the paper. We're going to have 10 full pages of coverage from our graduations. And, there's nothing better than getting your kid's picture in the paper at graduation. So we'll have 2 pages from each of the 4 high schools in Wicomico County, plus 1 or 2 pages from each of the private schools, Salisbury Christian and the Salisbury School. So, that excites me. As an old editor guy, I'm not supposed to care about stuff like that, but I love getting that content and putting it in the paper. So any avenue you can give me to do more of that will be great.
Well, that's why we created the website. There's unlimited virtual space.
Yeah, and the photo gallery that we use for the website is excellent compared to what we did have.
Yes,
it's so much easier for me to post and put that stuff up, and it's really immediate and it looks great on your computer.
You said so much there that...
Sorry.
No, you said so much, and so much of it is right on the mark. I have a favorite story. I don't know how many people remember the expatriate short story writer Sherwin Anderson. But Sherwin Anderson went to Paris. He was a guy that helped Faulkner along the way and helped Hemingway along the way and yada yada. He retired to Marion, Virginia. He was an old newspaper guy at heart, and he bought 2 weekly newspapers, which he in turn left to his sons. And his sons went to him and said, well, what do we do to make these newspapers a success? And he said, there's only one secret. And that is to get as many names of your readers in the newspaper every day and every week that you can. And that's what you're doing,
right?
By putting all these kids' pictures in the paper. And you're also right that I think far too many people live in an echo chamber. That's been, that whole thing has been stoked by social media, where people find it difficult to separate opinion from fact. It's been stoked by cable news networks, that force people to be on the extremes, and you can listen to extreme views here and extreme views there. There's no in between. And one of the things that our company has always prided itself on is a nonpartisan approach, that it's purposeful neutrality. We're taking another step in that direction, which I am convinced is a really, really big step for us. And I think it could be an example for the entire nation if we can make it work. And that is that we are going to hire and appoint civility advocates for each of our newspaper groups. And the civility advocate is going to develop a civility pledge that essentially is going to say, sign the pledge, become one of our civility members, and you pledge to listen to other people, you pledge to try to understand them, you pledge not to be, to use abusive language and all that kind of thing. And we're going to try to raise our opinion pages to another level where there can be legitimate discussion with civility of public issues and community issues. Now, there may be others in the company that want to take a different approach. My approach here is that I've noticed that whenever there are exchanges on our opinion pages about national issues, national campaign slogans, and that kind of thing, the temperature is way high.
Yeah.
It is way high. But if you could guide that discussion so that it was more focused on what we do best, which is local reporting, then the temperature of the discussion goes way down, and the exchanges are much more civil, and they're also more productive.
Right.
And I think there's a better exchange of ideas. So we're taking a big step here. We're going to invest in this civility advocate.
Well, opinion is really important, because in the Public Service Award that we won, it was for our continuing coverage on the water line going to the Salisbury Airport. And one of the components of that coverage was a county councilman who was opposed to the water line or had questions about it. He wrote an opinion piece, and the head of the airport commission board wrote an opinion piece. We ran those side by side, and when you read them, like, there were things that you'd agree with in the one column and things you'd agree with the other. These guys really weren't that far apart. They were, at the meetings and verbally, but when you were looking at their mindset, it really wasn't that far apart. And if you were like an arbitrator, you knew how to go in there and negotiate between these people to make it work. But it was an important component in the coverage. It wasn't just me writing stuff. It was people that the other people know writing stuff, and it was a really helpful exercise, but it included opinion.
Well, it should include opinion because I believe that I've been editors of a number of I've been the editor of a number of newspapers, and I have never once thought that I was smart enough to tell other people what they should do and what they should think.
Yeah.
Because I'm human and I got my own opinions.
Yeah.
They're not always based in rationality, perhaps.
Right.
So I've never believed that. So I think it's so important that we can bring in the voices of the community, the people that are actually going to be affected, the people that are actually thinking through these decisions, and let them use our pages to stimulate public discussion. I guess it was Tip O'Neill that said years ago that American politics are played between the 40-yard lines. Well, that's no longer true.
It
now,
used to be all politics is local, now it's all politics is national.
Yeah, so all politics now are played between the end zone and the 40-yard line.
Yeah.
And so what I would like to see our newspapers become is that bridge, that stimulus to bring civility back to our civic fabric, so that we were willing to listen to other people. So we'll see. We'll see. I think people are thirsting for that personally. Yeah. So,
Darel La Prade, thanks for the opportunity you've given me, you and your company, to have Salisbury Independent and to make my hometown a better place. I appreciate it, and thanks for being here today.
It's not my company. It belongs as much to you as it does to me because it's owned by a nonprofit trust. And thank you so much for being the editor and general manager of the Salisbury Independent for the last 7 years. I look forward to another 10, 15 years working with you. I may not be around that long, but
I definitely won't be, but thank you.
But we look forward to a long future together and your continued work. You've done a great job, and I know you'll continue.
I think I survived an interview with my boss, Darel La Prade. Thanks for him being here today. It was great to have him. I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent. Another edition of 101 right here on PAC 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.